I'm Jackie.
And I'm Ashley. Welcome back to Dumb Witch Club. Do I say it the same way every time? I feel like I do.
Probably, but you're supposed to.
I feel like I have a little, way that I say it.
I feel like when I say my name first, I say it weird. And then when I say it second, I say it normal.
You know why? Because it's weird to do that, out of context. Just randomly be like, I'm blah, blah.
Say your name.
Oh. Yeah, weird.
I know.
And to say, I am in front of... Yeah, it's just weird to do.
I think you don't say your name very often. In your own name, in real life,
it's weird. Unless you're introducing yourself to someone or, explaining to someone who you are. And then doesn't it sound weird in your head? Wait, did I just say the right name?
Yes, I do think that. Or I'm like, is that my name?
Is that me?
Really me? Mm-hmm. I'm like, everyone thinks that, and they see me, and they think that name.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they
so
think
weird.
that name, and then, if you say it too much, it loses, complete meaning to you.
You can't say any word will lose meaning if you say it too many times. It starts to sound insane.
There has to be some scientific thing to that. And
there probably is.
We need to, look more into that, because I wonder if there's some kind of, magical thing you can do with that.
That was crossing my mind too, of there's some way to, it's almost like a mantra, you say it so many times it just becomes this rhythm or something.
Yes.
It's just resonating. So yeah, there's gotta be something.
Which in terms of that, it's a good thing,
yes,
right? Because
sure.
it embeds it into your brain and you make those nerves.
Yeah, and then you become mindful because you're in a chant or something in your head, right?
But what if you wanted to banish a thing and you just say it so many times that it has no more meaning to you?
Oh, I like that.
I like that.
Well, it's almost like exposure therapy.
It is like exposure therapy.
Yeah.
So that's probably the same thing, the same thing that's activating in your brain.
But that way you don't have to actually do exposure therapy because that is awful.
Horrible. I don't want to do that.
Scary.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine it.
I know, seriously. I know. So, yes, this is so good because we are going to be talking about some magical things today.
Yeah, we are. We're going to be talking about things that might make people uncomfortable and scared.
I agree. And yeah. I was going to add to that, but no, I got nothing else to add.
Yeah, but while it makes people uncomfortable and scared, they really want to know things about it.
Yes, and I think people have misconceptions.
Very much
and they have fear. Mm-hmm. And I think, while a healthy dose of fear and humility is always okay, but you don't need to be afraid of things. So
right. And if you are, exposure therapy is a thing.
That's what this can be.
Or you can just avoid everything like I do and have things just be happening and be freaked out and not know.
Well, first of all, avoidance is not a treatment for anxiety. Secondly, you're having some weird experiences.
I don't accept that response.
I know. Just saying.
My anxiety's
it's actually.
Have you seen me for the past 22 years? Have you seen it? Because doing fine with it. Actually, you're not. I know, I have been having weird things.
I know, but it's not weird things. It's one weird thing that keeps on happening.
I know. I keep dropping things.
She keeps dropping things.
That's a real problem. I don't know what's happening.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So we were talking about this earlier, and I was like, if there is some message that the universe or this, spirits are trying to send to you through this dropping things, they need to drop it because it is not getting across. And they need to communicate to you in a better way, in a different way.
Yeah.
If there is any such message. And if there's not, and if this is just pranks, this is not funny.
No, it's not funny. And I feel why do I get attacked physically all the time?
You do get attacked physically. I will agree. And
I don't
know. Ugh. But I think what you have to be careful of not thinking is that there's some curse on you or that there is some black magic afoot.
I know. I feel like it's a hex.
That's controversial. We're going to talk more about that.
It is. Let's get into it because we need to. And maybe it'll help me.
This episode is about black magic and white magic.
Black magic and white magic.
And all kinds of magic.
And what does that mean?
Yes.
And all of that.
Not the song.
No, not the song.
But you can,
Yeah, you can think about. But to that point, though, there are many songs and many pop culture references and many things that include
so many
these terms.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you just made a very, very good point.
Yes,
with
thank
that.
you.
You're welcome.
So before we get into this, I'm starting to feel nervous about this topic.
I know.
Ooh, I just got like a feeling of like, ooh, is this really what we're going to talk about?
It's a heavy topic.
Yeah, no, it is. We are prepared. We have good things to share and tell you and help you feel about it. However, before we do that, some
Let's do a card pull.
fortification with a card pull.
Let's do it.
Yes, I'm excited. And we don't always get the results we want with our card pulls.
The back of the box, I just wanted to point it out because I was talking about it earlier with you. It says, what will you discover? And like sometimes I'm like, yeah, what will I discover? And then other times I'm like,
Yeah.
shut up. I don't know.
Yeah, don't tell me this.
Probably nothing good.
Okay, I'm like, seriously, I'm feeling a little strange.
I feel like I'm going to drop these.
No,
I know. I see, this is the thing. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy at some point because, and you told me that earlier. You said, stop saying that because if you say that, then you're like literally manifesting that to be true.
Yes.
And I did say, like, I feel like I'm doing it to myself. And you were like, you're not doing it to yourself, but like now you kind of are doing it to yourself.
Yeah, because now you're afraid of it happening, and so you're almost like manifesting that energy, and it's becoming like a loop within yourself.
Ew.
It didn't start with you. You didn't like do it to yourself.
No. Ew.
I know. As we're going to get into, so much of magic, and we have talked about before, is psychological. It's about you and your intentions and your energy and what you're putting it towards.
Yeah.
So, I know. So, anyway, this is not to blame you or to say anything like that.
No. You're not blaming me. You're helping me.
No, thank you. I try. Okay. Do what I can.
Draw so that I don't draw transformation. Here we go.
Oh, goodness. I know, but I feel like when I've been drawing, it's been... okay.
I know, kind of.
I know. I'm not gonna...
Don't draw the top card like you did that one.
That one turned out fine.
It actually did. It was okay. Scared me, though.
Earth.
Okay. All right.
Earth.
Yeah, you know what?
This is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, dude, get out of there and just ground yourself. Stop it.
Yes. So there's like a crystal on the card. It looks like an amethyst or purple.
Yeah, which I love.
That's tower. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a point. Yes.
And it's
grounding.
pointed. Yes, exactly.
It's like, bitch, figure it out. Come on.
Yeah.
Here's your... come on.
I think that is another thing. Oh, this is a whole other episode. Why do we always talk about other episodes that we haven't done yet?
Because they're like, all going to be so good.
Yes, no, that's true. But about, like sort of intuition and anxiety and magic and like your overthinking and your brain and all that stuff, like kind of what we're talking about. That could be a whole other episode. But I think that air to up in your head, you got to get some earth back down to the ground, right?
Yes, absolutely. Which is
balance out your elements, energy.
Which is why we have them and why they're all equally important in different ways.
Correct.
So don't let anyone tell you that your element is like less than. It's not.
No.
We need it. We need all of them.
Yes. And sometimes one gets a little wonky out of control.
Yes.
And then you need the other one or ones to pull that back down.
It's exactly what I need.
It is what you need.
Well, and I needed you for this, frankly, because, I was just floating along, not doing... Remember when you were like, did you do anything about it? That was cute.
I know.
That was cute that you asked me that.
I know. I asked her. And I'm like, well, so have you done anything about this? She was telling me this like a week ago, too.
Yeah.
And she's like, no.
I'm
like, yeah, I know you didn't.
I'm like, what part of dumb witch did you not? Because they thought we were in this together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So no.
Okay.
That feels good. I like that.
It does feel good.
And I feel like that grounded our whole upcoming...
Agree. I started getting a little up in my nervous system.
Same. Didn't it feel like tingly, sort of?
Yes.
In your, like,
That's
crown
strange.
chakra.
I know.
I do get weirdly tingly in my crown chakra. Yeah.
You have very active chakras, I feel like.
I do.
I don't know what that means, but...
Annoying. It just probably is just another thing about, like, the physicality of the way that things, like, affect me.
Yes, that's very true. I mean, I think that happens to everyone to some extent. And I think I was experiencing that last time when I was, like, having one after another illness, being sick, and all these different bizarre things.
Horrible.
I know. I feel a lot better now, so...
I know. I'm so happy.
Me too.
I don't like when you don't feel good.
No, and I don't like it when
feel
you
good.
don't feel good, and I don't like it when you're injured, and I don't like it when you're struggling with anything.
No, you get very protective.
I get
upset.
very upset if you're... I can't even look... She has
She
a
gets
Band-Aid,
so
and I
upset.
can't even look at it because it
No.
will make me cry and make me very upset.
She gets so upset. Even when I
hate
have a new tattoo and it's just kind of sore and ouchy, you're like, oh, know.
I don't want to see it when the bandage is on.
I know you don't like it.
I can't see it.
I know.
It makes me sad.
I try to hide things from you like a cat. I just try to like, oh,
I know.
no,
like, I'm fine. I'm not hurt.
I'm fine. I'm okay. And you're like, I see it.
I'm like, you're not okay.
You're not okay.
What's wrong? Tell me. And then you tell me, and I'm like, no.
But then you make it better.
I know, but then I do want to help you because I know.
You already made it better. It's gonna get better now.
Oh yeah, no, I think so too. And yeah, okay, so
let's talk about this.
Some big witch energy today.
Yes, we do.
And it is all going to go towards the subject. We were calling it black and white magic. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, but I think the subject mainly is black magic because I think it is something that is said and talked about.
Yep.
I was going to say known about, but I feel like it's not really known about.
No.
I feel like it's feared and misunderstood, and we are going to clear some things up.
Yeah, we're gonna start putting some more definitions to this and really just outlining like what exactly is meant by that and how you can kind of fix it so that it's not something othered and fearful and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, so I think just to start off with some definitions, which as we go on, you might see or learn for yourself that you may or may not actually adhere to these definitions.
Right.
But I think when people are talking about black magic and white magic, what they're talking about is, white magic being sort of the spiritual, connecting with spiritual beings, spirituality, the universe. And black magic being doing that, but with nefarious or selfish or evil purposes and intentions.
Yep. That's exactly it. That is what is thought of when people think of black and white magic.
Yes. And so I think there's sort of a lot of historical context to this. And so I don't want to get super into a ton of history.
Yeah.
But just to say that at some time in the past, there was really just folk magic, ritualistic magic, people doing ceremonies and spells and rituals as sort of a religious practice, essentially, or a way to understand their world and to feel like they're having connection and effect on their world.
Totally.
And then with sort of the, let's say, modernization of religion through institutions, such as, Christian, Catholic, church, like those institutional levels, start to come in to various communities and so that people will follow their beliefs, they have to completely disparage whatever else other people were doing. Colonization, I mean, it's all tied in here.
Oh, yeah.
So it was considered evil because it was not religious in the sense that they were prescribing religion.
Exactly. And it was something that they could not control. And largely at the time, it was women that were practicing folk magic and pagan kind of rituals. And the church, in the institutional sense, like you described, was largely, men in charge. I mean, really solely, not largely.
Yes,
solely.
Especially at those beginning, centuries, medieval, Renaissance, those times. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was, and continues to be in some sense.
Very true.
An instrument of control. And when you can't control the practices of what people are doing and you're afraid of them and what that might cause to you, then yes, of course, that's what you're going to lean towards, is categorizing it as something nefarious, something evil, something to be avoided. And obviously that got real, real bad.
Yes. And we don't need to get that much into the history, but just to also say that people did find ways to get around this.
Yeah.
Even within sort of the societal structure of when the church was so present and the Inquisition and killing, murdering people who were witches or pagans and things, is there was something called natural magic that started to come about. So that is a contrast. Ritualistic folk magic was really about summoning spirits and sort of communing with the otherworldly kind of beings and things. But natural magic was sort of using things in the natural world, which at the time, science and biology was not a definitive field the way it is now. So it was all sort of intermingled. Yeah. So that would have included stones and crystals and herbs
Right.
and astrology and astronomy, which were the same thing at the time, alchemy, chemistry, things like that. So people still were finding ways to practice. And I think a lot of those natural magic kind of concepts clearly stay with us today.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was something that, people who continued to practice, like, it had to go a little bit underground. It had to be that kind of thing, which I think then the narrative that continues forward from there, whenever anything is sort of occult and underground, like, a lot of people, mainstream kind of people, are going to think of that as being something to be feared or something to be avoided.
Yes, because it was actually taught that. And I mean, even if that was centuries ago,
Sure.
This is how culture works.
Exactly.
Like, it is the stuff that you don't know why or how you believe it, but you do. Or you don't know that you do until you're confronted with, oh, God, I guess that's what I think, even though I don't know why.
Well, yes.
It's not a chosen thought or a chosen value.
Yes, and that's a very good point that you make, because even connecting back to you introducing the topic of the episode and then saying not like the song, I mean, that bolsters exactly what you just said, right? Because it becomes part of the culture, and then it's just something that you think, and you don't, like you said, it arrived into your brain and you don't know why, but it's things like that. It's a song that's called that. It's a depiction of a witch or something, a pagan, anything like that, on a movie, on a TV show.
Yes,
the representations of that, what gender they are, what race they are, all that kind of stuff. It becomes embedded into your consciousness and part of the culture that's presented, and the powers that be are going to control the narrative around the culture that's presented. So yes, you are going to have those kind of references. And even if it's something that, like you said, when you confront that thought and you realize that's not an original thought to you,
yes,
and you start to unpack that stuff, you are still going to have imagery and references that you have to wade through in your head and really try hard to push those aside to get to what you think. That's not easy.
No, it's a lot of work. And I mean, look, this has to be done in regard to so many things, right?
Yeah.
So the unlearning and unpacking process, it's a lot. You can't do it with everything simultaneously. You just can't. So you have to do it as it comes up in your own life and do that work and be willing to put that work in. And so I think in this context, maybe if you're hearing this or watching this, this might be a signal for you to do a little bit of that. And if you're watching this and you already feel very aligned with like witchcraft and different things, then maybe you're like, well, I don't need to unpack anything. I'm good. I'm here.
Sure.
And that might be true. But there might still be things where you're judging yourself or where you're hiding things because of judgment of others. And that might also be very real. We don't want you to be in danger.
Definitely.
But just the fact that, maybe you don't have to be hiding all of the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that certainly, people might be like generally good and everything like that. But I don't think we're learning the way, and we're not becoming, to our fullest potential as a witch or a human if we're not consistently applying that introspection and being like, okay, I think I'm good, but as I get new stimuli, as new concepts come up, or I'm confronted with things that I'm reading, that I'm hearing, right, from people of different walks of life and stuff, how am I taking in this information, and am I really considering it like to the level that I need to?
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
Let's get back. No,
take a step back.
This is all very important. But in terms of black magic and what is meant by like, if somebody has that, maybe that stereotype or that assumption of like, oh, you're a witch, are you practicing black magic?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I think it means that people think that you are putting curses and spells on people.
Yep.
That you are communing with demons or the devil. And none of this is true at all.
No. Yeah, that is what people think. and I would guess that you're going to agree with me. I would guess that a lot of people would agree with me. It's a very common follow-up question when people find out that you're a witch, or if you profess yourself to be one, or however it comes up. It's almost always the like part B to the question.
Well, but I feel like, and the question is something like, oh, did you put a spell on me? Or, oh, are you gonna No.
No,
I don't have time for that. No.
Yeah. You think I'm going to... You're cute.
I know. Like, you wish we would put a spell on you.
You really do wish.
Yeah.
No.
So
never thought about it.
No, because as we have talked about between
Yes.
ourselves and here.
Yes, many times.
Our practices are for ourselves.
Yes.
They are not to enact anything on any other person.
Exactly.
We send out positive energy to people we love.
Sure.
But we are not trying to use our energy to enact something in someone else's life.
No. And does that mean that the other people's lives are not going to be impacted by what we've enacted? No, it doesn't mean that, because magic doesn't exist in a vacuum, and it does have an effect. And when you do put something out there, you're not in charge of the sort of subsequent effect that it has going forward. That's for the universe to decide how that's going to be doled out, right? And everything. But
yes.
You can make, your intentions known and everything like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you're acting on your own beliefs and something that is very true to you, okay, it might have an effect on other people, but you're not doing it to that person.
Yes, and I think there is a modern emphasis on intention when
Very
it comes
much so.
to magic, which I think is positive, which is a good development, because I think in the past, the focus was on the practice itself.
Yes.
And the practice itself being evil or being bad or
that's true.
being, just evil.
Sure.
So now we talk about intent. Yeah. And that is extremely important.
Yeah.
But just because you have a good intention, and you genuinely do, it doesn't mean that you control all of the outcomes from what you do.
No, it doesn't. Because here's the other thing, that's where it starts to get complicated, which is why black and white doesn't make sense, which is why we are always talking about how nothing is black and white.
Yes.
And just like drawing that hard line, it just never makes sense, because let's say you have a good intention to protect someone or yourself from someone else who's doing harm. Well, okay, that intention may protect that person or protect you, but it certainly has a different effect on that other person. Okay, but that person's doing harm. That might be the argument back. Well, but that person's doing harm. Okay, but that's still stifling, right, or affecting that person's intentions and that person's autonomy. It's still affecting that because you're trying to protect this other person. So in that case, you know what I'm saying? Like it's shade. There's shades. There's shades of what we're doing.
And I think that is why it is important that we set our intention in terms of my intention is to bring protection to myself and others.
Yeah.
Not my intention is to inflict harm or prejudice onto that other person who I believe is causing harm.
Exactly. It's just, it's that shift, which I think, like you mentioned, like people who have been practicing in their craft and really, doing a lot of work in that and like are comfortable with themselves and what they're doing. I think most people would align with that mentality.
I think so.
But I mean, some people don't. And sometimes you're going to, sometimes you're going to go through stages where you're real pissed off and you're really, really angry and in a bad place.
Some people have probably been really shitty.
Yep.
To you and hurt you and harmed you. And anger is a natural response to that. And you may direct your anger to revenge or things like that. And I think temporarily it's very natural, but you don't, I believe, living your life in terms of revenge or wishing ill on others.
Sure.
That drains your energy.
It does.
And then it harms you back. It's kind of like then you've internalized it and then you're doing the circuit yourself.
Yes. It's like this exists in a lot of religious principles and also witchcraft and magic. The idea that the energy that you put out, that it comes back on you threefold or sevenfold or whichever one you're sort of interpreting.
But
more. Exactly. That, but more, like however many times. And, a lot of people reject that because it's like, no, that you can't prove that or like whatever. But I think there's something to it because it's not about like, if someone cheats on you and then like you hex them or whatever, like it's going to happen to you 3 more times or something. That's not the way it works. It's not like an exact thing, but if you are in that space and that's what you're focused on and that's what the energy that you're putting out, well, then that's the energy you're going to receive back, just like you said, and it's cyclical. And you're not going to leave that dark place because it's going to keep feeding that to you.
Yeah, and it might just take you that much longer to heal yourself from what you experience.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're prolonging, in whatever sense, you're prolonging your own misery.
You are. And look, that might be very hard to hear for some people, and depending on what you're dealing with, and we acknowledge that. And if you are in that place, like that's okay. You always have an opportunity to get out of that place. You always have the opportunity to change it. I think the other thing that scares people about that is they may have, and I've been there, okay? Like you may have thought, oh, well, when I was doing that spell, I thought that I had the intention of doing good, but in my mind, there were all these dark thoughts about that other person or that situation while I was doing it. So maybe I tainted it because I, did that. You didn't. Whatever you did, you did. There's always the opportunity to change it. You're never just like done forever because you did something wrong. It doesn't work that way.
Definitely. And I think that, look, we all have an unconscious mind that is operating along with our conscious mind.
Yes.
And so you can't possibly be aware of every single thought or intention that you have ever had or have at any moment. So I think as long as your intention is to have pure intentions, then I think that covers that. You don't need to feel bad or guilty or like, oh, did I actually have a bad thought at the time? Like,
Exactly. Yeah, the universe is going to do with the energy what it needs to do, and it will extrapolate out what it needs and kind of sift through the rest. You don't have to present yourself as perfect in order to, engender something good. Just like, you don't have to be a perfect person to be loved, like that toxic kind of thing that's floating around that I see sometimes, like work on yourself or you're never going to be worthy of love. No, you are worthy of everything at every moment of everything you are if you come with that pure intention. Like the universe will figure it out for you. You don't have to know everything.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. I was going to say this a few minutes ago too, or it was crossing my mind, that I really like that I am not in control of everything that the universe does.
Exactly.
And that I don't have to be responsible and decide every single outcome. Like I do what I do. I have my intentions, which I work on and believe to be, good and not, against other people.
Right.
And what the universe does with that energy is not up to me past a certain point. I'm happy to be accountable for the fact that somebody else may feel oppressed at some point because of some protection that I needed to take for myself.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to take responsibility for that at my own expense.
No, absolutely not.
And I think magic works the same way. And so does just like interpersonal effectiveness.
That's absolutely true. Magic happens to be the vehicle, and it's the way that it's something you align with. And it's the way that you choose to kind of like intentionalize those things and make them really tangible in your life. And I mean, I'm assuming people listening to this content, watching this content, like are aligning themselves or are at least curious about,
at least
can I, or is this something I'm interested in? And like, that's such a great point that you made, because it's less about like the magic and more about like, that's just good practices for you, as magical as you sort of want to think about it, or as much, stuff you want to use or nothing you want to use. Like that's just good advice for you, as a human.
Being a person out there in this world.
Man, rough.
I know. It can be. It can be. We need all the help we can get.
We do.
I know.
So I guess we should just whoa. I don't know what that was. I don't really understand what happened there. That's okay. We're going to move on. Just like I said, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect.
That's right.
You don't have to do everything perfectly. And I did not say that.
Case in point.
Sentence perfectly, but I will try that again. I guess we should touch on the idea of black and white and the terms that are used.
Yes. One of our favorite topics, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Problematic terms that have been used.
Problematic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell me more.
Yeah, so so we're using the terms because these are the terms that are commonly used.
Correct.
Because we want you to understand what we're talking about. But we don't use the terms black magic, white magic to describe magic or to describe what we engage in.
Definitely.
We just wanted to use them because these are the terms that people know, but they
Yes, and frankly, especially black magic, sorry to cut you off, it has been sensationalized and, maligned and all of that, which, yes, there could be evil and negative intentions with some people with things that they're doing, but I just think the term itself has so much voltage, so we're like black magic,
Yeah, exactly.
But we don't really use these words.
No, we don't really use these words. No one should really be using these words, frankly. No. They're rooted in racism. They're misogyny too, but especially racism, because white magic has constantly and consistently been painted out to be the good kind of magic, the light, soft, good intention, Glinda the Good Witch, white, literally white, magic. Yeah, and then black magic is dark and it's nefarious, like we've said, but also associated with black people, black women, and African diaspora magic and religions, and voodoo and hoodoo and these kinds of things. And that's really what that concept is rooted in, and that's why it is so problematic.
Yes, and going back to sort of the cultural level, the depictions of, obviously New Orleans, Louisiana voodoo in media.
Yes.
It's always a voodoo doll and a chicken with its head cut off and some woman, it's always these very stereotypical, very negative images. And there's no secret that there's racism in those depictions.
Absolutely. And that's why, as we talked about, these are things that are so deeply embedded in the culture. And sometimes it seems innocuous, like the song, right? It's okay, well, but that's not what that means. Yes. But that's where you really have to do that work that we talked about, where it's uncomfortable and it's a lot, and you have to sift through all the imagery and all the things that you've been used to really get down to it. Okay, what are these terms really rooted in? What do they actually mean? Are there alternatives? And the answer is yes, of course there are. There are alternatives. You don't even need a binary, but even if you wanted to think about it in terms of that, there are other terms that you can use. We make up terms all the time. We even have good and bad. So,
yes,
why would you need to do it this way? And obviously, it was this way because of the message that that they were trying to send.
Yeah, definitely. And so, alternate terms. If you even want to use terms, because I think we really speak in terms of magic and magical practices.
Yes.
And I don't think we really even entertain this kind of stereotypical concept of black magic because we don't have those intentions. We don't do those things, which is not to say that somebody couldn't be, but we just don't engage in that world.
Exactly.
And I think that's a manner of protecting ourselves too.
Absolutely. And we understand too that everything is a mix of all of it. Just like I mentioned before, if any of you are watching or listening to this and thinking, well, I've definitely been in a bad place when I've, manifested some things, and I was angry because I was in, I don't know, maybe it was 2020 and you were in this place of what's happening with the world. And I guess that's sort of from an American viewpoint, but see what I'm doing? Everything is from some kind of perspective. It is what it is. But maybe you're in that place and now you're thinking oh my God, I didn't have the purest intentions. I wish to hate on Nazis. Hey,
that's probably fine.
That's okay. But that's what I'm saying. That's where you really have to be open to these concepts, because that why is that okay, even though that's technically negative? Because it's not black and white.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Why.
That is exactly because there's always exceptions, and that's just why the binary is so useless And yet it is such a natural way for our human minds to want to categorize things automatically.
Yeah, and it makes complete sense that we do it. It's just, but it doesn't have to be where your mind stops. Like, you can go further
because you
it.
actually have the ability to critically think, even about yourself, and to make choices. So, okay, alternate terms. The ones that I really have heard the most are high and low magic. So even this slightly problematic, high magic would be the good intentions, the sort of, white magic, if you will. And the low magic would be like the low base kind of negative intentions that people might be bringing to those practices. I feel like what becomes problematic, even about high and low, is socioeconomically, if somebody has the resources to maybe put on like elaborate ceremonies or rituals, that might be viewed as high magic, even if they had, bad intentions with it or something like that. So I think we still want to be careful with any kind of binary, but I feel like high and low is a lot more descriptive and sort of also clarifies that there's like a higher self version.
Yeah.
And sort of a more base, almost like
narcissistic or
yes, like a very selfish, self-centered version.
That's hard to say. Selfish, self-centered.
I am also stumbling over
No, but that was really hard. What I had to say was not hard. What you just had to say was hard, and that was a lot of
Yeah, maybe
it was difficult. But yes,
okay.
I
So
love that.
high and low. Yes.
Yeah,
and I think also
No,
just to say, I think also the high and low is effective because it can refer to yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
a good point.
Again, like your higher self versus your sort of self-centered, narcissistic self, which we all have all of these parts to ourselves.
Yes.
So.
And I like that you said that because I think it even further enforces the point that there might be times where you are your higher self and you're manifesting and things feel really good. But then there's going to be times where maybe you're not and you're manifesting and maybe things don't feel so good. But you know what? That's also okay. And I want to empower people to know that that's okay. Because I think the other kind of is mainstreamization a word?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Okay. I love it.
The mainstreamization word.
Rolls off the tongue.
There's definitely another word that I'm not thinking of.
No, there is. I don't know.
The normalization.
Sure.
Whatever. I mean it stronger, but anyways. Of like witchy practices, witchcraft, things like that. It's sort of sometimes packaged and turned into this like wellness retreat witchery.
Oh, yes. Like the new age
Thank
of,
new age.
Right? Yes.
New age. Which there's nothing wrong with new age. There's nothing wrong with a wellness retreat. Love that for you. Nothing wrong with that. But
it's like almost a watered down.
Yes.
And also weirdly concentrated at the same time.
Yes. Right. It is watered down and weirdly concentrated at the same time. And it is a form of spiritual bypassing. You cannot, just like we're saying nothing is wholly bad, nothing is wholly good. You cannot say that every single thing you're doing and all of these things and everything you're manifesting and everything is just this love and light and you're just white knighting for everybody. Like, that's not your job. Like,
no,
it's not.
And you're not doing that.
You're not doing that.
And if you think you're doing that, you're definitely not doing that.
Yeah,
and if you're selling something based on you doing that, you're definitely not doing that.
No, and if you're saying, well, it's because I'm an empath. Everyone is an empath. I'm getting controversial and I don't care.
That's a whole other episode too.
And we'll talk about that. But everyone is, so that's moot, okay? And you can't possibly be able to empathize for these causes that you think you're championing. You can't. I mean, can you want to help and can that come from a pure
of course.
Like activism place? Yes, absolutely it can. I'm not saying that it can't. But that's going to get messy and dirty and there's going to be anger and resentment and wanting to get revenge on people, and all that's going to be mixed in there. And I'm here to say that is better than acting like everything is just about me bettering myself and using oils that smell good and these crystals that are pretty. It's better than that. You're better than that.
I agree, because you are human and you're having a human experience.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. That's magic. That other stuff isn't magical because it's not real.
And it's like sterilized.
It
and
is. Thank you. You're coming up with the terms.
Yes.
Sterilized.
I know.
What did
all
I say?
the S words.
Marginalization.
No. It was the opposite. It was mainstreamization. That was good, though. I like it. That should be. We should mainstreamize that word.
We're going to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe we just did it.
I think we did. I think it counts. I don't know. No, I really loved that entire rant. And I think
was a rant.
Yes, but I did not mean that pejoratively. I meant that.
Look at you, pejoratively.
Yes, I know. Dumb witches.
Today.
Vocab. I took a vocab lesson.
We do have pretty good vocab.
Yeah, no, we actually do.
We really do.
I know.
We're both English majors.
I know. I hope it's not oppressive to people. They're like, oh, I can't listen to these
they're
dumb
so
witches.
pedantic. And then they're like, ew, she just said pedantic.
I know, exactly. Ew, do you hear that? They said they were dumb, and listen to them.
And listen to them. They're liars.
I
We
know.
probably are. That's what we were just talking about. Nothing's black and white. We're probably liars. It's okay.
I know. It's fine. We don't mind being called hypocrites because we're just people.
Because we are. That's like to the whole point, right? Like we are. Everybody is like, everything is so enmeshed. Like it's very hard to be pure. You can't be.
No, so what do? We do the best that we can.
Yes.
With awareness.
Yes.
As we grow and learn.
Yeah, exactly.
And we allow ourselves to grow and learn.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. You expose yourself. I think that's kind of, because, okay, people might be wondering, okay, you just explained there's no black, there's no white, it's all kind of gray. There's going to be stuff mixed in and there's going to be this, but like, how do I make sure I'm like doing it right then?
Well, yes.
That's a good question.
Yes, no, it is. And I also think like while it is okay to be human and have all these different sides and have all this, we don't want to just sit there and be like, oh, well, this is just how it is. Like, there's nothing I can do.
Absolutely.
Like, and it's okay for me to just sit here and, like, stay like a crappy person. I mean, no one's actively thinking that, but, you know.
Yeah, No, it's true, because that is where, like, the privilege comes in, right?
Yes.
Like, you can talk about, like, that's kind of, like, another form of, like, sort of the spiritual bypassing in a way, because it's, like, if you're not actually like experiencing some of those things or that oppression or whatever, then it's very easy to be like, well, you know, I don't have control over this. Like, you know, it is what it is. I can't, there's a fine line between like excusing yourself from educating yourself and then also just accepting that you aren't going to know everything and that it's okay.
Yes.
Only you can decide where you are in that. I would say if you're reading important things from people of color and people who are different from you, if you are engaging in those like accounts on social media, if that's something that you do, if you are just listening to other voices and making sure that you are really unpacking those things and considering the practices that you're adopting and the mentality you're adopting and really looking at it and being like, am I doing this because it actually feels true and authentic to me? Am I appropriating something I shouldn't be? If you're asking yourself those questions, and not just yourself, other people and other people who don't look like you, then that is doing your best, like you described.
Definitely. So I think there's awareness.
Yeah.
There's accountability.
Yes.
And there's checking your privilege and your bias.
Yes. Oh my God. And there's so many.
There's so many.
And again, like some of these things, they're so enmeshed and embedded into our culture. Like these are the things that are going to come up for you. And you're going to like initially, and especially if you're like engaging in looking up stuff about witchcraft and just kind of getting into it. And some of the ways that you're doing it is looking up stuff on the internet and kind of maybe watching TikToks or Instagrams or YouTubes or whatever you're doing. You're going to encounter some of these things that are going to look to you like very much like that black magic, white magic, wellness, witchery, or whatever I said it was.
Yeah.
You're going to, because that, look, it's also capitalism. Like this, like topic, this stuff.
Ooh, it's yes, I know.
So marketed now.
And I know, and that just made me think like might see people selling that they will remove curses from you. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't protect yourself if you have we've talked about energy protection, crystals that you might carry or wear because you think they protect you. But if someone else is trying to charge you money to remove a spell or a curse off of you, I would question that.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe you're struggling and maybe you're looking for an answer, but if you're hopeless and desperate, someone's trying to take your money. That's not okay.
No.
And that is black magic.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, definitely. That is, and anytime things start to become the mainstreamification of things start to happen, you gain a little bit of privilege with that because you're not as othered, especially white people, right? But, capitalism never misses a beat. So it starts to see these things before you even see these things. And it's oh, you want to be a witch? Here's a kit. Here's a thing. Let me show you all these things. These terms will be normalized. You'll start seeing, witchy eyeshadow palettes. I don't know. It's all of that.
And maybe some of it's cute and maybe some of it's fine.
Sure.
But maybe some of it's not. And you get to decide, and you have to decide.
Yeah, you have to decide, because that's the other thing. It could be creators you really believe in. It could be or you could be working with a spiritual practitioner that is working on hexes with you that you actually really believe in, or whatever.
Yes, if you have a relationship with somebody and it's, I think that's absolutely appropriate.
Yeah, if it's an Instagram ad.
Right.
Which you might see. And especially if you're watching this.
I know.
Or listening to this. Ah!
I know. I'm
going to drive myself crazy with that. I don't like it.
I know. Well, yeah, I know. I think we are very passionate about this.
Clearly.
And I think if you feel like you're cursed, take care of yourself.
Yeah,
but you don't need to pay somebody to remove a curse from you. You don't need to even feel look, people are doing things in the world that are negative. There's no secret about that.
Yeah.
But if you put energy yourself towards thinking that too, you are also feeding that. Because energy itself, I wanted to mention this earlier. Energy itself, it's not good energy and bad energy or evil energy and divine energy.
Right.
There's just energy.
Yeah.
And my analogy that I was using was electricity. If you have electricity in your house and your lights are on, that's good electricity, right? But if you're in the electric chair, you could say that's bad electricity.
Right.
But the electricity is the same. It's just how it's being used and channeled and abused perhaps by people in power in certain situations.
Absolutely.
So, trusting yourself, knowing where you're coming from, where you're at, I think it always comes back to that.
Definitely. And it's a good reminder for me right now, because the more energy I put into thinking that I'm dropping things and whatever, the more it's going to happen to me. And I know that. That's just a law of the universe, of course. You're just going to attract that and stuff. But it's a good reminder, okay, there's going to be negative energy out there because people are doing negative things, like you said. And sometimes those energies spread and they hit a current and then they come towards us. But if you're doing active work on yourself and you're doing active sort of protection on yourself, and we have an episode about that.
Yes.
So if you need tangible spells for that or just ideas for that, reference that. If you're doing that, that's wonderful. You're doing the right thing.
Yes.
And if you need to do a little extra, do a little extra.
Yes.
Yeah. You have the tools.
Exactly.
And you don't even need tools.
Exactly. And we talk about that in our Beginner Witch Basics episode, too.
That's a good episode. Yeah, listen to that episode if you need.
Definitely.
If you're beginning, because I can see people being interested in this because they really are just kind of getting into things and wondering and the fear sometimes is, I think, what it makes people curious. But also, they're wait, I need to know what this is before I actually engage in this. Is this something that's going to hurt me? If I start doing magic, am I going to be, cursed or, smited? Smote?
I like both of those.
I like smited.
Yeah, I like both.
Smited or smote?
Yeah.
You're not going to be smited or
No,
smote.
neither one. You won't be.
No.
Yes.
At least not for that purpose.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
So I think What else? What else do we have to say about this?
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot, and there is a lot to unpack with it.
Yeah.
But I think on the just the surface, the basic level, like, not all magic is black magic.
Right.
And magic is not evil. And you are in control of yourself and your intentions and keeping yourself protected. And you have the power and the empowerment to do that.
Yes. Yes. And you are your own grimoire that's being written as we speak and over time. And like sometimes that book is going to look messy.
I love that. That was so sweet.
Oh, thanks.
I loved it.
It sort of made me think of like the theme song of The Hills, like the rest is still unwritten, like
okay,
after I said it. It was only after I said it, then I was like, oh, that's kind of cheesy. But no,
but
going
I liked
back
how you said it.
to what
it was
I
not
said.
cheesy.
Yes, your own story, your own grimoire that you're writing. And just like your diaries that you probably shouldn't revisit, you know, not that I did that or something and that it was re-traumatizing or anything. But
no personal experience.
don't do that.
No, burn them.
Oh my God, yes, please don't reread that.
No.
Just don't do it. It's, you know, but just like those, there are going to be pages that are messy and pages that are ripped out and angry and rightfully so. Frankly, rightfully so.
Yeah.
And that is okay because all of that is magical and it's all part of life. And if you're learning and keeping your eyes open and really listening to other voices that are not you, you are doing the right thing and you're growing. And that's all that this is.
Yes.
All that it is.
100%. Yes.
It's not scary.
No, it's not. And I love how passionate you were about all of this
I know.
today.
Oh, like really
Fired
Scorpio
up.
energy
I know.
today.
Super Scorpioed up. I really like it. So, no.
Thanks.
I think this is very important, informative, and I'm really glad that we talked about this today.
I am too.
So,
I hope you are too.
Yes.
Let us know what your other questions might still be. Likely you probably have them, and that's cool. We'll try to address them.
Definitely. So, until next time.
Stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.
Dumb Witch Club is written and produced by us, Ashley Sidner.
And Jackie Gerard at the Dumb Witch Clubhouse in Orange County, California.
Produced and edited by Matt Heinemeyer. Creative Director and Culture Consultant, Violet Turner.
Original music by Ashley Sidner. And look us up on all your favorite social media platforms, including Patreon.
Until next time, stay witchy, friends.
And stay dumb.